And we're back from our commercial. Thank you for those words from our sponsors. And now this thing is got this graph. We're on the last page, by the way. We turned the page over. This isn't the last page. We have this graph that talks about wolf breeding pairs. And on the horizontal axis is the number of years since 1990. On the vertical is the number of breeding pairs. Now, what this asked us was to estimate graphically about this question: when were there about 35 breeding pairs? Okay, on this graph, the breeding pairs are on the vertical axis, and I see 45 and I see 30, and I have to find some way of estimating 35 on this. And I'm thinking that between 30 and 45 is 15, and 15 could be divided up into 3 equal parts. So now if those 2 marks I just made, this one could be 35 and that one could be 40 and then 45. So if those are evenly spaced. And if I follow this horizontally over here until it hits the curve of the graph, and then follow it down vertically till it hits the horizontal axis, I want to believe that that place that I hit there is on a spot that's evenly spaced between 9 and 12, where it would be 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I could put a mark right there and say this is equally divided into 3 parts, and so this is from 9 to 10. So I'm going to say my estimate is 10 years for 35 breeding pairs. Now, confirm algebraically using the quadratic formula. So this is a little tricky. We want our y to be 35. So we're going to write this way. 35 equals 0.2. We don't need that 0 after the 2. X squared plus 1.8x minus 3. Now we can't use the quadratic formula unless we have it equal to 0. So let's make this a 0 by subtracting 35. This will be 0.2 x squared still plus 1.8x, and now minus 3, subtract 35, minus 38. Okay, now we have an a b, and a c, and we can use that quadratic formula. And let's do it this way. So x equals the opposite of b, which would be negative 1.8, plus or minus. Actually, it's only going to be the plus in this case. And that's because we need to have a positive number. I can tell that my 2a, 2 times 0.2, is going to be a positive number. I can tell that. And so I'm not going to do the minus part. I'm just going to do the square root of b squared, which is 1.8 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 0.2, times c, which is negative 38. Okay, so what we want to do is first do this calculation underneath the radical. So that's going to be 1.8 squared minus 4 times 0.2 times negative 38, and we're going to get 33.64. So negative 1.8 plus the square root of 33.64. Now here's a little reminder about what you can do with this calculator. This thing right down here that says ANS, that's saving this number, the 33.64, on the calculator. So I'm going to do second square root and then do second answer, meaning that I want the square root of this last answer that I had, 33.64. Oh, and this is still over 2 times 0.2 is 0.4. That's what I wrote right there. So press enter now, and this is 5.8. So we have negative 1.8 plus 5.8, which is the square root of this, over 0.4. And I think that's going to be, if we take negative negative 1.8 plus 5.8, that's going to be 4. So 4 divided by 0.4 is going to be 10. So lo and behold, whether we did this using algebra here or the graph up here, for both answers we got 10 years. Okay, so the rest of this sheet includes your homework practice, your assignment practice. I'm saying that because I know some of you are going to try to use the loophole that it says homework with the idea that you don't have to do it now. But that is what you're going to do now, is start on this assignment, and your sub will have the answers that you can check when you're finished, and he'll help you work on that. Okay, that's your last new instruction. Everything else will be review. Last new instruction of the 2017-2018 academic year.